The text came at 6:17 a.m. on what should have been our 10th anniversary. Enjoy your pathetic life. I'm finally free from your dead energy. I stared at my phone, the blue light illuminating my face in the pre-dawn darkness of our bedroom. No, my bedroom now. The sheets on her side hadn't been slept in for 3 days. I told myself she was at another one of her women's empowerment retreats, the kind that seemed to multiply as our marriage deteriorated. Mechanically, I opened Instagram. It took exactly 8 seconds to find the post. Alyssa's profile was public after all. That was the point of being an influencer, maximum visibility. There she was, wrapped around Kai, her so-called yoga instructor. His shirt conveniently missing, her legs wrapped around his waist, both of them silhouetted against a Balinese sunset. The caption read, "Manifesting abundance with my twin flame." I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. I calmly set it down on the nightstand, walked to the kitchen, and made myself a cup of coffee. Black, no sugar. Then I sat at our farmhouse table, the one I'd built with my own hands while she filmed herself sage cleansing the wood for her followers. And I smiled. Because this was the moment I'd been waiting for. For 10 years, I'd been Daniel Warren, devoted husband, reliable accountant, and dutiful supporter of my wife's ever-expanding wellness empire. Quiet, unassuming, and hopelessly in love with my free-spirited wife. At least, that's what everyone thought. I met Alyssa at a farmer's market in Portland. She was selling homemade candles and offering aura readings, her long blonde hair catching the sunlight, her laugh melodic and free. I was there with a colleague, buying local produce for a dinner party. Our eyes met across stalls of organic vegetables, and something pulled me toward her booth. "You have a powerful protective energy," she told me, holding my hands in hers. "Very grounded, very necessary for someone like me." 3 months later, we were married in a sunset ceremony on the Oregon coast. Her vows spoke of cosmic connections and souls intertwined across lifetimes. Mine promised loyalty, support, and unwavering love. Both sets of parents watched with cautious optimism. Her bohemian artists meeting my practical Midwestern family. The first 2 years were genuinely happy. She taught yoga at local studios while I built my accounting practice. We renovated a small bungalow on the outskirts of the city, close enough to urban life but with enough land for her to create a meditation garden. I built shelves for her crystals, installed special lighting for her indoor plants, and patiently explained our tax deductions when her spiritual pursuits began to border on business ventures. "You're my anchor, Danny," she'd whisper at night, curled against me. "You keep me from floating away completely." I took pride in that role, the steady foundation that allowed her creativity to flourish. When she started an Instagram account to share her spiritual journey, I supported her. When she began hosting full moon circles in our backyard, I provided refreshments and kept the fire pit stocked with wood. I loved her wildness, her spontaneity, her belief in magic in a world that often seemed coldly rational. I thought our differences balanced us. I was wrong. The signs started in our 3rd year of marriage. "Danny, the universe is calling me to this crystal healing certification," Alyssa had said, her eyes wide with that familiar fervor that once charmed me. "It's $5,000, but think of it as an investment in our future." I nodded and transferred the money from our joint savings. 2 weeks later, she came home with a certificate printed on parchment paper and a collection of rose quartz that needed to be charged under the full moon. By year 5, our joint account had funded 3 retreats to Sedona, a yoga instructor certification, a quantum alignment business that never materialized, and various workshops with names like Embodied Wealth Consciousness and Chakra Business Accelerator. Meanwhile, her Instagram following grew. 10,000, then 50,000, then 150,000. She sold online courses, endorsed products, and led retreats. Money flowed in and mysteriously out, of our accounts. "Why is there a $12,000 withdrawal here?" I'd asked one night, reviewing our statements. Alyssa didn't look up from her phone. "Sacred investment, babe. This shaman in Peru is holding space for only 12 conscious entrepreneurs. It's exclusive. Shouldn't we discuss these things?" She finally glanced up, eyes narrowing. "Your suspicion is blocking my abundance, Daniel. This is exactly the low-vibration masculine energy that's suffocating me." That night, when she rejected my touch for the third time that month, she blamed my muddied aura. Later, I found texts on her unlocked iPad. Kai had apparently cleansed her energy quite thoroughly during their private sessions. I said nothing. Not yet. Instead, I smiled, made her breakfast, and opened a separate email account. People mistake kindness for weakness. They confuse patience with passivity. What they don't understand is that some of us play the long game. While Alyssa posed for pictures on exotic beaches and sold-out weekend retreats, I was quietly building my case. Every suspicious wire transfer, every business expense that somehow funded first-class tickets, every time she forged my signature on joint financial documents, every email where she posed as both of us to authorize transactions. "Danny doesn't involve himself in the spiritual side of our finances," she'd tell her followers in live streams. "He's too grounded in the 3D world." She was right about one thing. I was grounded in reality, specifically, the reality of financial crime. As an accountant specializing in forensic investigation, I knew exactly what I was documenting. I knew exactly what authorities would be looking for, and I knew exactly how to present it when the time came. For years, I smiled through her public belittling. I endured comments about my blocked root chakra and how I was energetically impotent. I nodded when she explained her frequent absences as divine feminine recalibration. "Some husbands just don't get it," she'd say to her yoga friends when they came over, speaking about me as if I weren't sitting 10 feet away. "Daniel's still sleeping, but one day he'll awaken." Oh, I was awake. More awake than she could possibly imagine. The tipping point came during a dinner party at our home, one she insisted we host for her Conscious Entrepreneur Mastermind group. 8 wellness influencers sat around our dining table, sipping organic wine and discussing manifestation techniques while I served the food I'd spent all day preparing. "Daniel's energy is so dense," one woman said, not bothering to lower her voice. "How do you work with that, Alyssa?" My wife laughed, a tinkling, artificial sound that had replaced her genuine laugh years ago. "It's my sacred work. Sometimes the universe pairs light workers with heavy energies to teach us patience." They all nodded sagely, raising their glasses that I'd just refilled. "Plus," Alyssa added with a stage whisper, "his accounting skills come in handy. Not all of us can be bothered with the 3D details." More knowing laughter, more dismissive glances. Later that night, after they'd all left and Alyssa had gone to bed without helping clean up, I sat alone at the kitchen counter and opened my laptop. Something had finally snapped within me. Not in a violent way, but in the quiet, definitive way of a man who has reached his limit. I began organizing the evidence I'd been collecting. What had started as simple self-protection, keeping records of our financial transactions, had evolved into a comprehensive documentation of fraud. I hadn't even realized how extensive it was until I saw it all in one place. That night, I created the first draft of what would eventually become the file I sent to authorities. And for the first time, I allowed myself to acknowledge that I was no longer protecting our marriage. I was preparing for its inevitable implosion. 6 months before our 10th anniversary, the pieces started falling into place. Alyssa had created a series of shell companies: Divine Alignment LLC, Sacred Path Enterprises, Quantum Wellness Holdings, each more vague and spiritual sounding than the last. Money flowed between them in a dizzying pattern designed to confuse and obscure. But I had spreadsheets. I had timestamps. I had PDF copies of doctored invoices where $700 yoga mats became $7,000 business supplies. I had records of international wire transfers she'd authorized using my name and social security number while I was at work. Most damning of all, I had discovered her secondary passport, one with my surname used to open bank accounts in Bali and Thailand, accounts that had received over $300,000 in the past year alone. The discovery happened by accident. I'd been looking for our passports to renew my own when I found a false bottom in her sacred objects drawer. Beneath her collection of Palo Santo and ceremonial feathers lay a passport I'd never seen before, with her photo but my last name, slightly altered spelling of her first name, and a birth date 2 years different from her actual one. That night I photographed every page, then returned it exactly as I'd found it. The next morning, I used my forensic accounting contacts to trace the passport's usage. The results shocked even me. Multiple entries to Indonesia, Thailand, and Costa Rica on dates when she'd told me she was at domestic retreats. Bank accounts opened in each location. Property inquiries in Bali under this fake identity. She wasn't just cheating on me or embezzling our money. She was creating an entire parallel life using my identity. When she casually mentioned a couples retreat she was hosting in Bali over our anniversary, one I apparently wasn't invited to, I knew the endgame had arrived. "You never support my dreams anyway," she said, packing her expensive luggage. "This retreat is next-level connection work. You wouldn't be comfortable." "You're probably right," I said, helping her carry her bags to the waiting Uber. "Have a safe flight." She didn't kiss me goodbye. She didn't even look back. That night, I made copies of every document, organized them chronologically, and created an executive summary that would make any prosecutor salivate. I highlighted the most serious offenses, calculated the total financial damage, over $480,000 from our joint accounts alone, and noted every instance where she had used my identity without consent. 3 days later, when her Instagram exploded with her and Kai's twin flame announcement, I was sitting in my home office with 5 sealed manila envelopes, one for the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, one for Interpol, one for the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, one for the Indonesian Financial Transaction Reports and Analysis Center, and one small one addressed to her parents. Each contained meticulously organized evidence of tax fraud spanning 7 years, international money laundering through fake wellness businesses, identity theft, mine, use of forged documents for bank accounts and property rentals, unauthorized use of my identification in international wire transfers. I included a copy of her fake passport, highlighted the $75,000 transfer to what she called a meditation yacht, actually Kai's new boat, and attached a USB drive with digital backups of everything. Then I drove to 5 different post offices in one afternoon and mailed them all, and I waited. The raid happened fast, faster than even I expected. 4 days after mailing the evidence, I woke to my phone vibrating with notifications. Alyssa's wellness community was in uproar. Authorities had raided the Eco Resort in Bali, where she and Kai were hosting 20 followers who'd paid $8,000 each for a consciousness elevation experience. According to reports, agents found cocaine in Kai's backpack, falsified business documents in Alyssa's laptop, and over $200,000 in cash hidden in their luxury villa. Someone had posted shaky video footage of Alyssa being led out by Indonesian authorities, still wearing a silk robe, her signature messy bun now truly messy, her face stripped of the usual Instagram filters and Valencia glow. The video went viral within hours. In it, Alyssa kept repeating, "This is a spiritual misunderstanding. I operate on a different frequency of abundance consciousness." The officers leading her to the police vehicle seemed unimpressed by her vibrational explanations. Her followers were confused. Her wellness peers were distancing themselves with rapid-fire posts about discernment and honoring truth. Her sponsors were deleting all mentions of their partnerships. Overnight, the carefully curated brand she'd built, aligned with Alyssa, became toxic. Her online courses were flooded with refund requests. The conscious entrepreneurs who had dined at our table and mocked my dense energy were now making public statements about how they always sensed something off about her teachings. My phone rang. It was her mother. "Daniel? What's happening? Is this real?" Her voice trembled. Barbara had always liked me, even when Alyssa told her family I was spiritually constipated. "I'm afraid so, Barbara," I said calmly. "You'll be receiving something from me in the mail. It might explain things better than I can right now." "But how could she—" "10 years is a long time to lie," I said. "Longer than most people can manage convincingly." After we hung up, I poured myself a glass of 18-year-old Macallan, a bottle I'd hidden from Alyssa after she'd tried to use it in a whiskey cleansing ritual for her Instagram stories. I took it out to the back porch and watched the sun set alone. For the first time in years, the silence felt like freedom, not abandonment. The following days brought a cascade of revelations. Financial journalists began piecing together the extent of Alyssa's fraud. Former clients came forward with stories of being charged thousands for energy activations that never materialized. Several wellness brands revealed that she had demanded payment in cash, off the books. Most devastating for her image was the testimony of former assistants who described how she would mock her followers in private, calling them desperate sheep, willing to pay anything for spiritual validation. She said the more vague and mystical she kept her advice, the more people projected their own meaning onto it, one former employee told a popular podcast. She called it cosmic vague posting for profit. Within 2 weeks, the woman who had once commanded $20,000 speaking fees at wellness conferences was now the subject of true crime podcasts and cautionary tales about social media deception. The package I sent to her parents was simple: a framed copy of our annulment papers, filed on grounds of fraud, a screenshot of her final text, "Enjoy your pathetic life," a sticky note that simply said, "I am." Barbara called me after receiving it. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Nothing needs to be said," I replied. "We always worried," she admitted after a long pause. "The way she talked about you, like you were beneath her somehow. But we never imagined this." "No one did," I said. "That was the point." There was another silence. "What will you do now, Daniel?" I looked out at the lake behind my house, secured in the divorce settlement after authorities froze most of her assets. "Live," I said simply. During that conversation, I learned that Alyssa had been draining her parents as well. The loans for retreats that would supposedly launch her to the next level of success. The emergency requests for legal fees when she claimed retreats in foreign countries required special permits. Even their retirement account had been tapped for what she called a once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity with a conscious millionaire mentor. "We remortgaged our house," Barbara admitted, her voice small with shame. "She said the return would be tenfold within a year." My heart ached for them, genuine victims of their daughter's elaborate cons. Unlike me, they hadn't been documenting everything. They had no recourse, no way to recover their savings. The next day, I called my attorney and arranged to have a portion of the assets recovered from Alyssa's frozen accounts directed to Barbara and George. It wouldn't replace everything they'd lost, but it would at least clear their mortgage. I never told them. Some kindnesses don't need acknowledgement. The media frenzy lasted weeks. Wellness guru exposed. The dark side of Instagram spirituality became a trending topic. Former followers came forward with stories of expensive retreats that delivered none of the promised transformations. Business partners revealed shady dealings. The hashtag #fake guru trended alongside her name. A documentary crew approached me for an interview. I declined. Several publishers offered book deals for my inside story of the decade-long deception, I turned them all down. My revenge wasn't about public attention or monetary gain. It was about justice and reclaiming my dignity after years of calculated humiliation. Kai flipped on her almost immediately, claiming he had no idea about the financial side of their relationship. He was deported back to Australia, banned from entering Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and the United States due to various visa violations. His Instagram, once full of shirtless handstands and cryptic spirituality quotes, went private, then disappeared altogether. According to mutual connections, he was last seen working as a barista in Melbourne, telling anyone who would listen that he was the real victim of Alyssa's manipulations. The irony wasn't lost on me. Alyssa faced charges in multiple countries. Her lawyer, no longer the high-priced one she'd retained for creating her shell companies, but a court-appointed one, advised her to plead guilty to reduced charges. She refused, maintaining her innocence in a disastrous jailhouse interview where she claimed she was being persecuted for spiritual leadership and that the money was all energetic exchanges for healing. The prosecution had bank records that proved otherwise. The trial was brief but comprehensive. The evidence I'd compiled formed the backbone of the case against her. International financial crimes experts testified about the sophistication of her money laundering operation. Former employees confirmed she had knowingly misrepresented her businesses and fraudulently used my identity. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts. I wasn't in the courtroom. I was at home, building a coffee table from reclaimed oak, finding healing in the tangible work of my hands. 7 months after that anniversary text, I received a collect call from an Indonesian detention facility. I almost didn't accept it, but curiosity won out. "Daniel?" Her voice sounded smaller without the confident, breathy quality she used in her meditation videos. "Hello, Alyssa." "You did this," she said. Not a question, a realization. "You did this," I corrected her. "I just kept records." 10 years, she whispered. "You pretended for 10 years. I almost laughed. "Ironic coming from you, isn't it? They're saying 15 years minimum, in here." Her voice cracked. "Do you know what these prisons are like? The heat, the insects, the food?" I remained silent. "My followers are gone. My parents won't even put money in my commissary account. Kai is denying we were ever serious." Now she was crying. "Everything I built is gone." "Everything we built," I corrected again, "with my money, my credit, my name, my reputation." "I never thought you'd fight back," she admitted. "You were always so passive." "Not passive," I said. "Patient." Through her sobs, she managed one question. Was any of it real? I thought about our early days. Before the wellness empire, before Instagram, before she decided spiritual entrepreneurship was more valuable than honesty. Had I loved her? Yes. Had she loved me? Perhaps once. "That doesn't matter anymore," I finally said. "Goodbye, Alyssa." I hung up before she could respond. Later that day, I received an email from her attorney, a desperate attempt to negotiate a statement from me that might reduce her sentence. They offered to relinquish any claim to our remaining joint assets. They suggested I might find compassion within my heart for the woman I had once loved. I forwarded the email to my lawyer with a single word: no. Some betrayals run too deep for forgiveness. Some lessons must be learned the hard way. Her journey now was her own, as mine was finally, truly mine. That was 3 months ago. Now, I live quietly by the lake, in the house we once shared. I've converted her manifestation room into my woodworking shop, where I build custom furniture that sells for respectable prices at local galleries. Her crystals and singing bowls have been donated to a thrift store 2 towns over. Her massive collection of white linen spiritual teacher outfits given to a women's shelter. The only reminder of her is a single framed photo on my workbench, not of Alyssa, but of the front-page news article documenting her arrest. A reminder not of her, but of my own capacity for patience, for planning, for justice. Sometimes her former followers find me online, curious about the man behind the scandal. I never respond. Some wellness influencers have tried to feature me in their podcasts about healing from betrayal. I decline all invitations. I don't need to tell my story. I don't need validation or viral moments. Every evening, I sit on my porch with a glass of good whiskey, watching the sun disappear behind the tree line. The silence wraps around me like a comfortable blanket. Sometimes people ask if I feel guilty for what happened to her. They wonder if revenge has left me empty, if I miss what we had. I think about Alyssa in her humid cell, thousands of miles away. I think about the decade of lies, the public humiliation, the theft, the cheating, the gaslighting. Then I think about my quiet mornings, my peaceful evenings, my honest work with my hands, my freedom from performance, pretense, and spiritual platitudes. No, I don't talk about revenge. I don't need to. I already won. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.